Hi, it's Bishop Byrne here. I'm sorry that I can't be with you this evening, except I have to go to a rather sad funeral at which I'm to preside in New York. So I'm with you in prayer. But I wanted to take this opportunity to say how delighted I am that you're in this inquiry phase. You see, the period from now until the day of one's ordination is all a time of discernment, hearing God's will in your life. So let's begin with these questions. The first question is, how to distinguish between my will and God's will. Am I doing this for the right reason? Just as I said, this is a process of discernment. This is a time of hearing God's will. Time is your friend. However, you're not the only one discerning. The church is also discerning with you and for you in this process. It's a two-way decision, the ordination of one into holy orders. So the time and prayer are the two ways of knowing God's will in your life. The second question, what are some practices that I should be doing during my discernment, both at and away from the parish? The number one thing that anyone should be doing is praying in front of the Blessed Sacrament. The process of hearing God's will is actually making yourself disposed to hearing that. And there is no greater way than to pray in front of the Blessed Sacrament. This is something that you should invite your wife, if you're married, to join you to do also, so that it's not just a when we can, but actually scheduling it, making it part of your daily routine. One of the great disasters is to have someone in holy orders who's not a man of prayer. It's obvious. The other thing you should be doing is being involved in your parish life. Whether it's teaching RCIA, helping with Sunday school, whatever. Get engaged in the life of the parish. That's a great way to hear whether or not the Lord's calling you to the more of the diaconate. Now the next question. What is the latest basis for the Church's position on male-only ordination? What advice can I receive to truthfully and gently communicate this position to individuals who are opposed to it? There is no latest position. This is the position of the Church since the very earliest time. It's rather a large question and not able to be handled in this format. I would recommend simply Googling male-only priesthood, ordination, and there are multiple websites that in a scholarly way address this so that you can understand that this is not something that the Church has decided. It's the Church recognizes that Christ established this, and the Church has no power to change the fundamental aspects of a sacrament. The matter and form of the sacrament are not something that the Church creates or makes. It's something we receive and we pass on. So as Jesus could have named anyone to be an apostle, his first priests he chose only men. He could have come in any way he chose to. He came in the form of a male. That's just one tip of the iceberg. So do your own research. There's ample resources, Catholic.com, for example, that give you a good understanding. And then how you prayerfully integrate this into your own experience, but also into your own ability to communicate it to others, will be an important part of your process of becoming a deacon. Our fourth question, if I sense I have additional time besides diaconate formation studies, what foreign language or ministerial field should I try to support? Multiculturalism, inclusivity, a general diocesan need that will be necessary in 5 years. Of course, being able to speak in a foreign language, and particularly in Spanish, is very useful at this time. Because if you have that capacity or that ability to be able to preach, to be able to teach in Spanish, which is the growing language of our local church, is an important part. I also think it'd be valuable to spend time with your parish, either going with your priest or being part of a hospital or a ministry team into one of our nursing homes. This is to be able to minister within a challenging setting of a healthcare in people in very desperate need often is a skill that can be honed. and to spend time seeing those who do it well, to bring communion to the sick or the homebound, is something that takes time to become more comfortable with, and I encourage you to do just that. Now, our fifth question. I feel the best evangelization is a life of witness and service, and being ready with an answer if someone asks, what is the source of your energy? But in today's world, I feel a call to be more proactive. How do you start a dialogue about God without being termed overly religious and turning people off? I think that any joy or enthusiasm is infectious. I don't know what overly religious would mean in your mind, but perhaps it would mean sort of like unhappily pious, I think, or piety. Pietism would probably be the better word. A pietism that we all recognize as not coming from a place of joy. And so I think that, once again, time spent in prayer, in front of the Blessed Sacrament, with the Gospels in your hand, coming to know Jesus Christ, that lights a spark in our hearts. That if it's there, people will admire, will desire. And that's just what being a faithful disciple is all about. People are going to be turned off for their own reasons, not necessarily just because you're filled with joy. So, be filled with joy. Be a missionary disciple. Now, our next question. My wife and I very much enjoy visiting different churches and attending Mass together during vacations and small pilgrimages. As a deacon, how would this affect us being able to do so? Would I still be able to attend Mass with my wife? Does this also apply at home? Will there be an opportunity to attend Mass with my wife as a deacon? I think that this question would be best asked of deacons and their wives. But you do make a sacrifice. I was spiritual director to a deacon's wife when I was a pastor back in Maryland. And this was a really hard thing for her, to suddenly be going to Mass by herself. She actually decided to go to Mass at another parish where she built a community there because her husband was so busy in the parish. So I think that expectation is a wise and realistic one, is something that you and your wife should talk to with other deacons and their wives to get a sense of just what that life will be like after ordination. Question 7. What is the impact of finding out we are pregnant during discernment or even in the formation years? If this led us to deciding God has other plans, when and could I ever apply to the diaconate? Or is the call to diaconate a one-time, one-chance process? I hope these questions make sense and aren't too lengthy. I expect a lot of this will be made known during the period of my discernment. Thank you for hearing and answering my questions. And that's a great point, but being a new dad, it's got to take priority over your diaconate process. If during the time it becomes evident that your family life, that you might suffer from this pursuit of the diaconate, then the discernment at that time would be to step away from the program. But that's not a once and for all decision. As the kids get older and as you find yourself more available, then maybe you'd say, okay, I'm going to revisit this question now. The Lord might be calling me, but maybe not right now. And good luck. God bless. Question 8. What are 3 things or ideals that are important to you that you would like your deacons to mirror and reflect to the faithful in the diocese? This is I think joy, faith, hope, and love, of course. Joy is another one. All of those come from a healthy and important prayer life, not just as an individual deacon, but as a family. As a family of prayer with you and your wife if you're married, you and your parish family, but that's what we need. People are looking for faith, hope, and love. I don't need to make that answer up. The theological virtues tell you exactly what the priorities are and what people hunger for most. Now, our next question. As prospective deacons, we have our full-time jobs and family responsibilities, as well as ministerial duties we hope to be able to perform one day. Sometimes life gets hectic. We know that family comes first. What are your suggestions for being able to balance life and the curveballs with our desire to serve God's people in this ministry? I think an important part of this question is recognizing, just as in any situation, whether it be our personal lives, our careers, or our ministerial duties, if we're a deacon or just working in the life of the parish, is that there has to be an ongoing sense of discernment of what God wants me to do right now, but also in dialogue with the pastor. So if you find that this is something coming up, don't try to juggle the balls without help. Talk to your pastor if there is a situation that comes up, so that you two, together with your wife, may discern how, either in the short term or the long term, you can best fulfill your duties if you are called to the diaconate. So important is discernment of prayer as an ongoing reality. That discernment doesn't stop with ordination. It's an ongoing process. But so is dialogue. The dialogue with your pastor, the dialogue with the church, the dialogue with me is the one to whom you would make a promise of obedience. Number 10. Priests seem to do things at Mass differently depending on who is saying Mass, including the part of the Eucharistic prayer. If we are a universal, shouldn't it be the same? I completely agree, and I address this often with the priests as a whole, is to make sure that we, as priests, that we read the black and do the red. If you don't know what that means, look at the sacramentary. The black are the words that we say, and the red are the actions that we do, what are called the rubrics, like the word ruby, red. And so the rubrics should be followed, and I agree that I agree completely with you, and I will always do just that. So pray for that we become a truly universal church. Another question: how do I know if I'm worthy to receive the grace of ordination? I'm going to save you the time. You're not worthy. I'm not worthy. None of us is worthy. It's all pure gift. Think of the line that we say whenever the host is elevated. Lord, I am not worthy for you to enter under my roof. That's the reception of Holy Communion. Even more so, this reception of ministering at the altar. None of us is worthy. It's all a gift, a grace. That's why it's called a grace, meaning a gift from God. And so it is that if you're looking to become worthy, you're not going to do it. Neither am I. What I try to do is to be holy, to be able to say, Lord, I'm not worthy, and yet you've called me to this. Lord, I help my unbelief, as Peter says in the gospel. And so this is what our prayer should completely and always be. Lord, I'm not worthy, but yet you call me anyway, because it's Christ working in me, in you, in your life and in your ministry. God bless. Next question. What are some personal qualities expected for those interested in becoming a permanent deacon? Theology you can learn, a spiritual life you can develop, but being a good man, that's something that is inherent to us. So are you a person that others find approachable? Are you someone that has an even temperament? If you lose your temper rather easily, that's not at all a benefit. It's something that should really cause maybe one to step away and to say, I need to work on my own personal development as a man, as a human being, before I undertake this calling to the diaconate. You can have the smartest guy in the room, but I really do need a deacon who's the kindest guy in the room. So work on being a good man. Work on being consistent. If there are areas in your personal life that need to be developed or worked on or abandoned, that's what spiritual direction is for. That's what confession is for. So in your process, you need to be open about that. You need to be open with those in your formation if there are issues that are working on. If you hear feedback, you need to take that as a word from God speaking to you. That in fact we can teach theology, you can develop a good prayer life, but most importantly, we need human qualities for a good man following Jesus Christ. Thanks and God bless, and thanks for being here tonight.